Teacup, teacup.
And we are live on YouTube. How's it going, guys? How is it going?
What?
Just saying hi to chat.
Hello, chat. How's life? Good, I hope.
Yeah.
Life can be tough sometimes. You know, you just get things just come up at the last minute. You know, Marcus Aurelius, he said, you shouldn't prepare yourself in life uh, by thinking and hoping that bad things won't happen. The way that you should prepare yourself is hoping that when the bad things do happen, you have the strength to get through it. Because that way, when they do happen, it won't shock you to your core. You know, it'll prepare you better for it. And I think that's a realistic approach
You're
to
so
life,
wise,
don't you?
sir. You're so wise.
Let me tell you, man. I am a student. I am but a humble student of the Stoic God himself, Marcus Aurelius, the Jesus of Stoicism. Okay? I've read the Stoic Bible. It's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And I would highly recommend it. I actually just finished it like last night. So
You're all hyped on it until you start another book.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about that stoicism.
Elevated, hyped to see you at the minor. I'm not invited to the minor. They made this big announcement of talent for the minor qualifiers, and so everybody thinks that I'm going to the minor, but I just casted the qualifiers. That's all.
Why did they do that? I was very confused by that.
I don't know.
Because I was like, man, Donnie didn't mention anything about going to a minor land. That seems like a pretty big deal to not mention to your.
Yeah. I mean, if
your best friend and business partner.
If they were to invite me, I'd certainly say yes, but I was definitely not invited as of today. So I appreciate the congratulations, though. It makes me feel good about myself.
You could go to it. I think you've been killing it with the casting lately. It's in the cards, man.
We'll see.
Don't doubt yourself.
I had a lot of fun at WESG with Breaky and Tsunami, even though the games were pretty one-sided. It was still a good time.
How many viewers did you guys have?
I think we were like 6 to 7K, something like that at peak.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They did a lot better job with the tournament this year, and like the StarCraft had like 6,000 people watching it. CS:GO I think had like 8 or 9, maybe even double digits actually. And then Dota had pretty good viewership considering. It also helped that you had like BSJ and Envy and Moo, and all those guys playing.
That's really cool. Like I remember last year we did it. It was like 50 viewers or something. It was really bad.
Yeah. This is definitely different, and it was cool.
The viewership was bad, I gotta say, but the event was sick. I loved the event. I got to see Smash Ultimate there before it was released, which was really cool.
Raw Dota. Jenkins doesn't know anything about Puck. That's unfortunate.
That's
it's very toxic, Henry. I thought you were reformed. I thought you were a better person.
I don't understand how he can get unbanned saying like toxic shit like that, honestly, to people that are supposed to be his friend and his compadre. Dude, I'm Henry's duo queue partner, okay?
Yeah.
Fuck that other guy that he queues with. It's me. I'm the big dog now. Okay? And that's how he speaks with me. This is the abuse I have to take on the daily when I queue with this guy.
You should just make him refer to you as Big Daddy J from now on. And
I do, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't refer to me in any. He calls me bitch. This is what I have to deal with.
Well, that's when you gotta take away the free MMR the boosting that you're giving him. You know, he's
I'm
well
definitely boosting
he's
him,
well
yeah.
known for getting boosted, so just take away his best source of boosting.
Well, I'm boosting him, and then he's also trying to buy my account from me every day after we stop
Really?
queuing. He's like, yo, 50 doll hairs. It's like, Henry, listen, man, I caught you again. You said doll hairs, $50. That's different. You know, also, and if anybody wants an account, $50, you know, goes a long way. That's a couple of extra large pizzas with extra cheese and light sauce. But he says doll hairs, and it's like, man, you're such a bad person. Like Reddit was right, and Henry was left. Like
Yeah.
trying to pull something like that on your friend? Come on. Unbelievable.
Can you really consider him a friend at this point? I don't know.
Oh, enemy. Mortal enemy. Just
And
so hostile.
adversary. Anyway, let's get into the questions.
Okay.
Now, we got some viewers. We got probably quite a bit of time to take questions from chat today.
Yeah, we have we have let me see, December 4th. When was our last Alchemy Answers? That was the 3rd. Okay, so the 4th. So I think we have 4 questions, and one of them was somebody thinking that it was the replay review
Nice. Perfect.
channel. So we have a lot of time for chat questions. If you would like to support your homies at Dota Alchemy, patreon.com/Dota Alchemy. We appreciate it. Our patrons, they all appear to be gone for the holidays when it comes to these questions, and even replay reviews have been relatively short in terms of the requests. So if you're looking to get some questions in to chat, guaranteed every week, or to get your replays reviewed, hit us up. All right, that's my selling out done for today.
Perfect. So welcome to Alchemy Answers, episode 57.
Welcome.
We are going to answer some great questions. We've got more stuff about patch 7.23. There's lots of questions still to be answered. I feel like I don't really feel like anything is fully stabilized about the game, and so it's kind of fun to theory craft and answer these questions from our lovely patrons and the chat family as well. So thank you for joining us here. If you want to listen to this in audio format, of course, we have all of our episodes on Anchor FM, which has published them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., and basically everywhere you would normally listen to podcasts. So you can check that out as well. Anyway, let's hop into the questions.
First, we have Arboreal Phoenix. He says, in the legend bracket, what are I love this question already, by the way. What are some specific things that I can do to play faster, in quotations? In a lot of your content, you've given examples about being at bounties as they spawn, rotating to a different lane at 5 minutes to have more impact than the one that you're currently in order to break down the laning stage. What else can be done to play faster? I really like this question, and I think that this is something that we're guilty of, and that a lot of the analysts slash people, content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them, they use these buzzwords that pros use, but they don't really describe exactly what it is that it means. And I think that that's a problem, and it can definitely get confusing. So the way that I think about playing fast is basically in Dota, there's almost always going to be an objective that is your next objective to take. You know, you have the top tower. It's the last tier 1 alive. You want to start taking Roshan soon because your heroes are now capable of doing it, and you've taken all of the outer towers. Something like that. And playing fast is basically just literally moving your hero between those objectives in an efficient way. So with the objective in mind. So a lot of the time when somebody's playing slow, it's like the enemy team is dead, right? 60 seconds respawn time. And then instead of going directly to the Roche pit, which is what fast pro players would do, people will farm one jungle camp. And then in the lower brackets than that, people will farm one jungle camp in the lane. And then in the lower brackets than that, people will farm one jungle camp and the lane, but they'll cast their spells inefficiently, or they won't use spells, so that they'll get to the Roche pit slower. And in every bracket, it's about 1 to 2 seconds slower that they get to that Roche pit. And in pro matches, the enemy team doesn't even respawn by the time the Roche dies. In the lowest possible bracket, the enemy team is alive, 100% HP, and the people are out of mana and are going to lose a Roche fight because they were slow in getting to that objective. So in my opinion, that is what playing fast is it's basically just moving between objectives in Dota as quickly as possible, and an objective could be like an item timing, for example. So sometimes it's fine to like farm the jungle, and like, yes, that's slower, let's say, but maybe less risky than just like going into Roche or something like that. But within that context, you can still have somebody playing fast, like moving quickly between the camps, using blinks, tread swapping, things like that. It's just all about efficiency.
Yeah, I completely agree with essentially just the movement from one objective to the next. And I always say it in the words like just trying to press the game towards its conclusion as quickly as possible. And the way to do that is to take objectives. So if the example that you gave is really good and something that I see all the time. People take a fight. Roche is clearly the next objective, or maybe the mid tower is clearly the next objective, and then everybody just kind of like splits apart and goes and farms because they're like, oh well, there's no heroes alive to stop me from getting my items, so I'm going to go get my items now. When in reality, that isn't actually helping you win the game that much. But taking Roshan allows you to then go high ground, so that's a big push forward towards actually ending the game. And
Right.
And I will say though that the process of playing fast is a little different than just like you take mid and then you just immediately run to the safe lane tower without your cooldowns because you use them to take mid. That is not playing fast. That's just suiciding, right? Like if you just are constantly running at the other team without your resources. But the point is, like, if you have resources, it's all about recognizing if you have the resources to win a fight, to take an objective, and then
Getting to that objective as quickly as possible when you have the resources to do so.
Immediately using those resources. Like if an Enigma has a black hole, you want to see them use that at level 6 to take a fight as soon as possible. You don't want them to hold it until like level 12 because it's a resource that you can use to do something good. So,
and even in like a pro match, you'll notice that the moment an Enigma gets level 6, Smoke of Deceit immediately purchased, or it's already on the courier flying out to the Enigma.
Yep.
And that's what people are referring to when they say like playing fast. And the reason that playing fast is important in Dota is like the reason that I like the Roshan example is because in Dota, 1 to 2 seconds really matters. Where it's like this crucial guy doesn't show up to a team fight. He's 1 to 2 seconds too late, so his whole team dies. Like that's the thing with the lower brackets is a lot of people don't feel the urgency to where it's like, okay, as soon as we get this black hole, we need to use it. But then you get to a point in the game where the black hole doesn't matter anymore because the enemy team is so huge that even holding them doesn't beat them. And then it's like, oh, I wish we had used this a couple of seconds sooner. Like it's always after the fact that people realize. And that's why pro players just try to play like as fast as possible always, because you're never really going to be punished for playing like too fast. That's not going to happen. Like if you have your resources, like usually if you the only punish is going to happen like if you miss execute. That's where like you can always look at a fight where it's like, okay, was the problem that we did that too fast? No, not really. It's probably that this guy like pressed this spell in the wrong order, or he just messed this thing up, and that's why this fight didn't work. Anyway.
Yep.
Moving on. We'll get to some chat questions because we have only a few patron questions. I see some questions in chat. Somebody asked if SF is still in my S tier of heroes. No, he's not in my S tier of heroes anymore. However, with that being said, I think that people underrate the hero a lot. I've seen in the pubs that I've been playing, like yesterday and the day before, that people are going for like a Shadow Blade build and just using like the fear as kind of a disable in team fights, Sanjin Yasha, things like that. And like the build is evolving on SF, and I think the hero is quite good. But I don't think it's OP tier. Like I wouldn't say SF is on the same level as like Puck or Venomancer or something like that. I think it's just a good hero. I was kind of overrating it at the start of the patch. But I said this in one of the comments. When it comes to like my tier list, after almost every game, I'm changing it based on like the performance of the heroes. So I really think the idea of like this is exactly what the meta is never going to be a very healthy way of looking at the game. You're bound to get like blindsided by something if you're like, oh, SF was OP tier, but this was a bad SF game. Like you're just gonna end up picking SF into some shit that he doesn't want to play against,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's gonna feel really bad.
Regardless of your numbers, if it's a terrible game for the hero, it's a terrible game for the hero, right? That's basically how Dota works.
Or if the meta shifts,
yeah.
So that, like, let's say there are good Lone Druid counters that are available. There are good Veno counters that people are picking. Maybe if Lycan and Morphling were picked a lot more, maybe Veno like wouldn't be a good hero because it's actually like a lane that can like heroes can lane against the Venomancer. But Morphling's picked like a decent amount, and Venomancer and Lycan's like not really picked at all. So, how long have Jenkins and Donnie known each other? Like 3 years now.
Yeah, something like that.
Has it been longer? Something like 3 years.
Something like that.
Since Pugna, I think we like kind of knew each other before. Not it's like whenever you're like in the scene to any degree, like you know, you see people, you meet people, but we weren't like friends or something. We've been friends for a few years now though.
Yep.
Moise, how to gain MMR without actually playing the game.
Theorycraft a lot. Think about it. Think about the game.
Yeah.
Come up with ideas.
I think that's pretty good. We were just talking before we started about and I think that's the sort of stuff that is good to talk about, like with your friends, or like read up on it, or just think about it. You just think about like the concepts in Dota. And it's like, okay, they just changed this thing. What have we been doing for years that is just not good anymore? Like Henry was saying this a few days ago to me. Oh, we were playing, and he was like, "Man, the way that I play the mid lane now is I just farm for 10 minutes until I get bots, and then I just ditch the mid lane and play the side lanes." It's like that makes so much sense because who even cares about the mid tower anymore?
Yeah.
There's no outpost mid. You know, the outposts, every time they pop and you get a double outpost, every hero on your team gets a level. Think about that. Imagine if you lost laning stage so hard that every single one of your heroes had one level on the opponents. There would be a 0% chance that you lose Dota.
Yeah.
Like one level on every hero is significant. And every 5 minutes, starting at 10 minutes, that can happen if you secure the outposts, which is why even with the nerfs, bots are broken and playing the side lanes is broken. The mid lane is useless. You can just TP shrines anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that the only reason to really hyper focus the mid tower is that it is kind of an access point to the jungle, but it's not even really that much because most of the camps are high ground now. It's more of if you are about to take Roche, you definitely want to get rid of that. But other than that, it's really not that big of a deal.
It's the Roche tower, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a 40-minute tower now instead of a 5-minute tower. Played with a Chiro or cheater Chiro. That's a combination of cheater and hero. I'm patenting that. That's like Stan, Stalker and Fan. Anyway, played with a cheater that makes you lose control of the hero. I've never heard of that before, John Legend. That's interesting. I've never heard of that cheat.
Yeah.
Who would win, 10 huge Jenkins or a 100 Elevateds?
How huge are we talking?
I mean, and are we talking like with weapons? Like, can weapons allowed? Because if the small Elevated's gonna have weapons, then I feel like just the brain power alone of 100 people would be hard to. Then again, it is elevated, so like between the 100 of them, there's about 300 brain cells. So
yeah,
maybe the Jenkinses would win based on that. Will you guys be uploading the remaining episodes to Spotify? Last one was episode 55 on November.
Yep.
20th.
Yep. I've been lazy and also at an event.
Yeah. How'd that go, by the way?
It was fun. It was really easy. I mean, I flew to Montreal. I traveled more than I actually worked. Like we cast one series.
Did you work for a day? Just a day?
Yeah. We worked for about 5 hours and that was it.
So did you fly in the day before and then fly out the day after?
Yep.
Did they pay you half for travel days?
Yep.
Oh, cool. That's always good.
Yeah, and they paid me before the day was even done of working. So The
For any,
WGN is real legit as an organization.
it's interesting how the how esports has evolved to this point to have these sorts of standards. I don't know if it comes from other industries. Maybe it does, like news media or something. But in case you guys are curious, that's pretty. I think that's pretty standard for organizations, is to pay like half for travel days.
Mm-hmm.
They won't like fully pay you, which can kind of feel bad, because it's like, okay, well, that's time out of your day that, traveling is pretty brutal, but you're not technically working. So
Right.
it's like a weird kind of middle ground compromise. Is there anything else that people like ask for with the people? I'm sure like OD Pixel or Slacks, they could ask for almost anything and probably get it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like artists, like rappers and music artists and stuff, they have like or comedians, they have I forget what the word is called, but they have like a thing that,
List of demands.
yeah, basically. And so it'll be like, the dressing room has to have, some people are obviously crazy about it. Like, dressing room has to have like champagne at exactly 68 degrees plus, like blah, 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 cheese plate, and who knows. Some people just have like, hey, I just want a Nintendo Switch in the green room, or something like that.
A rider. It's called a rider.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never heard of that before, but that's
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
That's so funny. God. Yeah, I remember for Midas mode. Maybe I shouldn't divulge this information, but for Midas mode, Suns fan demanded no, it was a cherry Coke. He needed there to be cherry Coke every day, and he needed Krispy Kreme donuts, or he wasn't gonna work the event. But he was doing it ironically, so
Right.
that's different. But it was so funny. The only reason I say that I shouldn't say it is because that's kind of his joke that he's doing. I'm sure he said it on his podcast, but
He
I found that so funny that he's just absolutely refusing to slack. It's like, I'm not going on the panel today. This is Krispy Kremes. And somebody who was driving into the land center, they would picked it up on the way. It was like apparently an hour away. It was like the closest Krispy Kreme donuts.
That's funny.
So
Hey, man.
10,000 brown M&Ms.
Yeah. I want you to go through all the packs of M&Ms and only pick out the brown ones and put them in a bowl and give them to me.
Jesus Christ. For some of these people, I feel like they just know that they have power and authority. They just like to
Oh,
execute it
for sure.
sometimes.
For sure.
It's like, no way they'll do this stupid shit. Oh, they did this stupid shit for me. All right, let's see what I can get away with next time.
Right.
How do you deal? Somebody said, let me see, where was it? Something about toxic mentalities that make it hard to rank up. Where is it? I lost it.
All right. I'll answer this one
Toxic
instead.
behaviors.
No, go ahead.
Toxic behaviors observed and experienced that get in the way of climbing. MMR, I assume. I could tell you a lot of those. Let me just think. What did I do last night?
Is it
binge queuing?
You doing the toxic behaviors, or your teammates?
I mean, I think if my teammates have done something, I've probably done it at least to some degree.
Sure.
Binge queuing, that's a bad one. Queuing until you're exhausted and then keep going because you're focusing on gaining numbers. That's not good.
Yeah.
Not accepting people and their mistakes, like as if they're going to happen, because they are going to happen always, and there's no point in not moving past them in games. I think there's a period we can all get into where, for whatever reason, we're just stressed out, get into a game, and somebody can say something that normally wouldn't bother you, or somebody can make a mistake that normally wouldn't bother you, and then you hung up on it and you're thinking about it. It's like, even if you don't say anything, it's like the thought of it is just distracting and dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Donnie? Any toxic behavior you can think of?
Nope. I'm a good mannered player.
Yeah. All right.
No, I mean, for me, it's like most of it just comes down to caring too much about a number. And essentially, if I play the game because I want to play Dota, then I win a vast majority of my games, and I only play a couple of games and they go well. and I can deal. I have like high resilience against my teammates flaming each other or other stuff like that. And if I am going into a game like exclusively to gain MMR, then I
That's not good.
will almost always get tilted in those games because I have like this very specific set goal that I know I'm investing 45 minutes of my time to get. And then if my teammates start doing stupid things or not listening to my calls or feeding or just playing poorly or whatever, then it can feel very easy to get defensive because it feels like they are like keeping you from your goal and wasting your time. And I think people wasting my time is the number one thing that pisses me off in the world. I think period, like outside of Dota, everything.
I mean,
if somebody wastes my time, I'm just
it's like I don't remember
tilted.
I don't remember who said it, but what perfectly describes it to me though is like when people take you hostage.
Yeah.
In games, it's like you're just stuck in the game until
Yeah.
it's over, and somebody is just ruining it.
Yeah, I abandon those games all the time. That's why my behavior score is low.
Because like the whole time wasting thing, I agree with. If somebody's just playing bad, I don't consider that like, oh, you're wasting my time. It's more so the people that are like deliberately doing it, and because I'm not willing to abandon, it's just taking you hostage, and that sucks. That feels bad.
Yep. What's the melody in your intro? I actually don't even remember at this point. It's the intro to some other song, and I pitch changed it and sped it up a little bit. I don't remember what it's from. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you.
Hopefully, it's not copyrighted. Otherwise, we're gonna lose about 500 videos. That would be rough. Can you make a video on new ward places? Yes, we can. Donna, you want to do that? Your support.
Yeah, I can do that.
You find anything interesting?
Yeah, there actually are a couple. There's a couple.
I knew you would have found that shit. That's your jam, man.
Yeah,
there's like, oh, I got this fucking cool ward. You use Quelling Blade and Aetherland.
Yep.
Donnie, shut up, man. I'm an offlaner. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, maybe you should, because then you'd feed less.
Bitch. It's my job, man. I'm a space creator, dog.
Whatever, man. I'll just send your courier to go ward and share control.
Can you do that? Can you share control of the couriers?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I'm 90% sure.
Okay. I don't believe you. That'd be crazy.
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm not 100% positive though.
I'm not 100% sure either. That'd be interesting though.
Give us another Patreon question.
Okay. I remember posting a ward video, and I think it did really well. That's one of the ones overarcs a patch that people really like.
People like warding videos.
It's different from the here play the top 5 heroes, or Magnus is so overpowered, Clinks is the best hero in Dota. It's different from that shit, everybody's making that stuff. We make that stuff. That's why I wanted to make the all heroes ranking thing, so that way I could just be like, okay, this is my thoughts on every hero.
Right.
So far, so that way I can just do whatever other content. Anyway, I'll get a Patreon question. Let me look. Hype to join the Patreon group. Okay, that's the dude who. Thanks for supporting us, by the way. I appreciate that. But he's looking for the replay review section. Ganksy says, "What is the secret to playing Venomancer as a position 3? I feel so squish, and I don't know what to do early game that oppresses the offlane." Well, I've been playing this hero a lot lately. I think it's still really broken. Basically, your job is to just keep your distance in the lane and slowly but surely harass the enemy team down. No matter what heroes they have and how much regen they have, eventually you'll get enough levels in your spell that if you just keep casting them and keep hitting them and don't take a lot of harass, they won't be able to lane against you. That's the thing, is it's a slow. I mean, the hero is themed perfectly for how you want to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
He's this slow death. This disease looking guy. And that's what you want to do. You want to very slowly whittle people down. And if somebody's a stronger laner against you, it'll be less slow that you whittle them down, but you will eventually. And if somebody's really weak against you, within the first wave, they can't lane against you.
Yeah,
obviously with the nerfs, it takes a little bit longer now.
I think if you're feeling squishy, it just means that you're not playing the hero correctly. He's very, very hit and run because you don't need to just trade right clicks. Like your right click is terrible, but your poison sting is amazing. So
Right,
you hit
exactly.
somebody once and you walk away and you let poison sting do 30 damage to them, and then you hit them again, and that's another 40 damage plus another 30 damage from poison
Yeah.
sting, and then you hit them again like 5 seconds later. And the whole point is like if you're dying on that hero, it's probably because you were too far up in the lane, and you need to just make sure that your positioning is not terrible, and you should be fine.
I would say if you're ever trading with somebody directly and you're just hitting them and they're hitting you, like you're doing it wrong. Like I
Yes.
always go for people when they're going for like last hits or denies. Like when I know they're gonna walk up to the wave and they can't hit me, I hit them. And then eventually, because of poison sting doing like 100 damage every time you hit somebody, or they can't lane against you. It's very easy once you get into the swing of things. Like once you figure out that rhythm, it is quite easy.
Yeah, and that was the last point that I wanted to make is make your trades happen when you have creep advantage, and you probably will always take good trades with that hero.
Oh, with that being said, I go through the creep wave and I right click every creep once so that we get a creep advantage because it puts the poison sting on everything. That's
Sure.
like I did that as well. Like I make sure that if I'm gonna trade harass, like I just right click every creep. And like once you have the level 2 poison sting, especially because of how it scales at level 2, it's pushes the lane so quickly that the enemy team like won't be able to they won't be able to trade with you straight up.
Yep.
And then eventually, like your hero just becomes complete cancer. You have all the wards, people can't walk through them, and it's very easy. You farm insanely fast. You just run down lanes, and then the enemy team avoids you.
Yep.
Okay, Medieval says, how do you think low ranks like Crusader and Archon differ from your ranks from an advice perspective? God, well,
From an advice perspective, I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. I think the higher up you go, the more theoretical stuff gets, and the lower you are, the easier it is to just pinpoint something very concrete that you can just say, do this for 50 straight games and see how much better you are, something like that, right? Like if I were to try and give Jenkins advice on how he's playing the game, I certainly can. Not like just because I am not as high rank as him doesn't mean I can't give him advice on his own game. If I have a global perspective and we're watching a replay together, I can sort of like lead you to getting better at the game by making you justify certain decisions that you're making and asking you questions and kind of like bringing up other points of view about how to approach certain situations. Whereas if I'm coaching a Crusader player, I'm going to say, all right, let's practice last hitting, or let's pull the lane, and then that will just drastically change the course of your game.
to be honest, when it comes to like giving advice for the different brackets, I'm definitely a lot worse at giving advice to like the lower brackets. But with that being said, what I tend to do in coaching is we'll just go through a replay, and the most fundamental thing that I see a problem with, a consistent problem, that's like what we'll talk about. So I guess like the way that I approach a Crusader player or a Divine or player in coaching is the same. We just watch a replay, and if I see like the person doesn't know how to do creep aggro, we'll talk about it and like why it's important and what you can do with it. If they're last hitting poorly, we'll like talk about that. If they're moving around the map poorly, we'll talk about that. But like generally, the way that I learned to coach people from a previous coach who coached me is that like generally speaking, you just want to always be focusing on like one concept at a time. So if I go through a replay and I see that somebody's like messing up something very fundamental like last hitting or creep aggro, I'm not going to talk about like map movements or rune control or like positioning in the lane to like contest pulls or anything like that. It's like at that point, it's literally just like, no, you need to just pull creeps to get, because this is going to improve your game the most. So like once somebody has moved on from that point, then that's when you can talk about the other stuff and kind of build on it. Because I think you could get very overwhelming just talking about every single mistake in a replay. I mean, we could go through my replays or BSJ's replays or for God's sakes PPD's replays, and we could talk for hours and hours about the countless possible mistakes and possible optimizations. So why bother? Like focusing on the most fundamental thing that's going to give the most improvement, I think is the best thing possible. So with that being said, the answer to your question is from an advice perspective, I'd say it's always different. So I wouldn't like treat it any differently talking to like a Crusader or an Archon player. And that might be wrong. I might be just not great at giving advice, and that's okay. But that's generally how I approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a good approach. You have to diagnose the problem to actually be able to treat it, right? So, just makes sense to me.
Yeah. Corey Aguirre says, "Why do you think Dota?" I don't mean to brush you off like that, by the
That's
way, and
fine.
say, "Yeah, I just got really excited about." I realize anyway. He says, "Why do you think Dota 2 puts in so little effort to advertise their game and cater to new players?" I don't know, Donnie. What do you think about that one? Why?
Um, I don't
I feel
know.
like I
I
feel like it's just nobody's interested in doing that at Valve.
Yeah,
That's my outsider opinion on it. Knowing how Valve is, I don't think it's malicious. I think it's just a bunch of people that can do whatever they want at a company, and nobody finds that interesting to work on, so nobody does. And
yeah,
it sucks. It sucks for the game, but that's how Valve works.
yeah. I don't really feel like Valve has much of an advertising like. I mean, obviously they have advertising and marketing people that work for the company, but I think it's probably very, very minimal in terms of their staff. Like if you just look at how they handle PR and how they communicate with the community, they just don't have those types of people that work there very much. Most of their people are developers or systems engineers or whatever, graphic artists and sound engineers and that kind of stuff, motion capture people. And so they just do the stuff that they're trained to do, that they're good at. And then as far as
Yeah.
the advertising stuff, when's the last time that they made less money in a year on the game? Never. They've made more money every single year since they launched Dota 2.
Mhm.
So until that goes down, why would they advertise the game?
Yeah. I've definitely had some friends like come and try to play Dota, and hearing their experience makes me like wince,
Yeah.
for the game. It's like, oh god. I remember I was watching Speed Dota. He was doing like a video, the game dying, something along those lines, and he said like, would I recommend Dota to my friends? And he's like, no, I really wouldn't. And that kind of
Mm.
made me realize like, what I if like my uncle or my dad was like, I want to look to get into video games, like I want to play games. Maybe that's a bad example. Maybe just one of my friends that plays like RPGs and stuff, like a gamer. Do I want to get into a MOBA? Would I recommend Dota? Now I probably would, because I think the neutral items are really fun. Um, but
It's
but
it's
still,
it's
I don't
it
I don't know if I would. It's like it's a hard question to really answer because
it is
it's
hard.
so hard. It's so hard. I think the neutral items have made Dota so fun for every role, and I'm
Yes.
so glad the direction that it's going. I'm genuinely enjoying the shit out of this patch. But with that being said, there's still so many complicated elements to the game. There's Smurfs devastating people in the lower brackets. Like there are people, I'm not gonna name names. I know people who Smurf in like Herald and Crusader and Archon, and they're just like divine immortal players because they think it's really fun and funny. And it's like, man, that's like 9 people that aren't gonna want to play the game anymore.
Yeah.
That actually sucks.
Also, I don't know, like every time I think about that, if so recently my cousin, hi Peter, if you're watching, he's he's a gamer. He's like really good at Halo. He's been playing games for a long time. We used to play Warcraft 3 together back in the day. He recently was like, dude, I want to learn to play Dota. And I was just like, oh my god. All right. It's going to be an experience for you. And also it's like I feel bad even just playing with him a couple of times because I just know that I'm just not giving him enough tools to be good at the game because there's too much. Like if you were to use your example, for example, if somebody was to ask me, "Hey, I want to learn to play Dota. Will you teach me?" I'd be like, "All right."
That sounds really hard to teach.
That sounds like several thousand hours of my time to get you up to speed. Like how about you go play 1,500 games of Dota by yourself, and then we can go from there. You know, that's kind of how it feels because
yeah. Come see me a year from now, buddy. Like,
right, like just
oh,
just the whole like there's just no way to pick up and play the game. But maybe there is. That's the thing. Like I feel like we're so deep into it at this point where you look at a game and you're like, oh well, you know, I got to push these creep waves, I got to take these outposts, I got to do these objectives. But back in the day when I first loaded up Dota, or Defense of the Ancients rather, and I just was like, what does this hero do? And I clicked on it, and then I was like, what do these do? And I hit some creeps, and it's like, oh cool, I got some gold. What does this item do? And I bought like 3 boots and, you know, like 6 chainmails, and I was like, I've got armor and I can walk fast, but why don't I walk faster than I have with 1 boot? That doesn't make any sense. And there's just all these like questions, and learning the game and that whole experience is something that I just can't really remember clearly enough to think about whether it was even fun, right? That's the thing. Is like if it was, clearly it was fun because I learned the game, but I don't remember what that process was like. Like how was it fun? How is it fun to be
I
so
think
terrible at the game and go through that process?
when I learned the game, there like wasn't matchmaking, so
Right.
it was just totally random.
Totally random.
Um,
Which is
so
kind of cool because sometimes you get like one really good player in the game and everybody else sucks, and then you just can kind of like fall around the good player or something and see what, I don't know. It's weird.
Hugo Baldera says, Jenkins, do you smoke weed before you play Dota? Absolutely not. I don't want to lose. And if so, does it help with your gameplay? No. No. Dude, I'm telling you, I get 3 stalked by easy bots on Smash if I'm stoned. Like, there's no way I'm playing Dota. It makes me feel slower or more focused. God, no, man. I don't understand how. I remember when weed was just getting legalized here in Canada, there was this big thing where people were talking about its effect on like driving. Now it's like it's illegal. It's like drinking and driving, right? But at the time, it was a discussion because nobody really knew what the answer was. Um, and I remember thinking about like, Jesus Christ, I would rather be drunk as hell, like almost blackout drunk, than just a little bit stoned driving. Because when I'm stoned, it's like, oh fuck, that's a bird over there. Is that a bird? Oh, it's a plane. You know, I'm just like, and then I'm just like mangling some mother and her children. Like it just, I don't know. When I'm stoned, I'm just so insanely slow. I remember there was this one night where my buddy from high school came down from Toronto, and
Here we go.
we were playing Smash with me, Ellie, and him, and we were just like taking turns. And I was fucking destroying, dude. Let me tell you, my King GDD, it was beautiful. I was like ledge cucking and everything, and just smashing them and jumping on their heads and boinging them down. You know, like the crazy cool shit. And then I got stoned, and I swear to God, I was getting 3 stalked every single time. Like I went from just owning and doing all this sick shit to not even standing a chance. And he was Derek, the guy that I was hanging out with, he was stoned as well, and I just still couldn't beat him. Like the level of play for some people, I think, is different. It affects people differently,
Yeah.
and for me, it makes me just so dumb. It's like I'm already pretty dumb, but like Jesus Christ, I'm dumb when I'm on weed. The thing with being drunk though is that when I'm drunk, I'm dumb, but I feel smart still. So you have the confidence element. With weed, it's like, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this.
I'm
Oh
just
shit, I forgot that I was doing this thing.
anxious. That's funny.
Yeah. Got the boys to admit that they smoke weed. It's not a taboo subject here anymore, actually, because it's just legal, right? It's like admitting you drink.
Right.
So I don't know if there's any Canadians in the chat. Shout out to Canadians, but I know in all of your guys' countries, it's probably banned. Fucking America as well, it's banned. So it's a weird, it's a really interesting, it's a weird subject. I wasn't a big weed guy um until it got like legalized. Now my dad is even indulging because he got like a leg injury, so to like relieve the pain he tried weed, and now the leg injury's gone, but he still has some weed brownies left, so he's like "Nah, I'm probably gonna finish them." And he's like the total stereotypical dad that you would never see doing drugs
That's
ever,
funny.
like so anti-drugs, but because of the pain from his leg, he was like he tried it and it worked, and now he just kind of he liked it. It's so weird because he's so pragmatic and stoic that I can't. My dad has tried edibles before I have.
That's
Like that's
so
fucked
funny.
up. That's insane. I can't believe it.
All right, I'm gonna cut off the weed discussion there because there's a question that I want to answer in chat, which
We're
is,
already demonetized anyway.
do you think you have to be a genuinely smart person to reach Immortal on Dota 2, or can any average Joe hit it with enough practice? I think that that's a really interesting question. I feel like, personally, that Dota players, at least the ones that take the game relatively seriously, are...
Henry says no in chat. Definitely no.
I mean, I kind of tend to agree, but I also think that, like, per capita, Dota players tend to be more intellectual than other games. Just like,
Sure.
just by nature of how complicated it is and how much the game involves just problem solving. Whereas, like, if you play like Apex or Fortnite or Halo or whatever, it tends to be a little bit more like you could just like pick up the game and just shoot people and everything's fine.
I'm of the opinion that the idea of like, okay, if you're gonna go by some standardized test, like I don't know, so IQ test or whatever, sure. Like maybe there's some correlation, maybe Dota players are smart, maybe they're stupid. I don't know. But when you talk about like the word intelligent, are Dota players smart? Are they intelligent? What does that mean? Like
Right.
that's the problem is that it's not it's like is somebody successful? Is somebody like what's the definition of success? Am I rich? Am I famous? Am I fit? Am
Are you
I
happy? That's the real
eh,
answer.
well, am I happy? Do I have cars? Am I living an exciting life? Like it depends. And I think intellect is something like that too. Like it depends. I personally think that if you are an athlete, you're intelligent. You're just your body's really smart. You know a lot about becoming your like physical apex, and that is something that not everybody can do or say that they've done. That is just some sort of like knowledge, some experience that you've had that other people haven't had. And like, would most people call athletes smart? Well, probably not, because I think when people say that, they're thinking in like the traditional sense, like critical thinking or problem solving, or like the intellectual subjects, like the STEM fields, like math, science, whatever. And I really think that there's just it just depends. And I don't like to, this is going to sound really corny. I don't like to like label people like smarter. I think if you are living a productive life, as long as you are being productive and you are doing anything, for God's sakes, you can knit giant penises, like just for like women's stores, the sex stores, just to make like 40-year-old, 50-year-old white women laugh when they walk. It's like, oh, it's a giant dick. That is a skill. Like you will get really good at that eventually, right? You will. And nobody else will be able to do that like you. So as long as you are spending your time doing something productively, you're smart. If you aren't, then yeah, you're a fucking idiot. But that's it. And I think Dota players are spending their time doing something, and they're practicing and they're being productive with it. At least like the good Dota players. So yeah, I think there's a certain level of intelligence, at least by my definition. I just think it doesn't make sense to like what define smart. That's my question. Is just define smart to me, and then I'll tell you yes or no. But the question is always asked like
There's
as
also
if everybody already knows what smart is.
there's all sorts of different types of intelligence too, right? You can be like emotionally intelligent and have good empathy for
Right?
people.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Like my mom. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this just reminded me. My mom is somebody who wouldn't. She doesn't care for like books or science or philosophy or anything like that. But Jesus Christ, she can look you in the eyes and be like, something happened today and you're upset. And it's crazy. Like, how the fuck does she do it? I'm always shocked. And she can listen and she can talk to you and she can empathize. And it's crazy. It's like, man, I wish I could be like that. I have to like train to be like that. Somebody's crying and it's like, oh fuck, what did I do? Oh God. Oh, I have a story. Oh my God. So one of my roommates, his name's Ian, right? So this is my college roommate. So we mess with each other. Like that's what dudes do to each other, right? They just screw with each other. And he came in one night and it was dark and he didn't turn the light on. He just went and got a glass of milk. And then I went over because he got home and I heard him. And I usually just go see him. And I grabbed the milk and I poured it out. And I was like, "That's my milk, bitch." And then he just starts like crying. He's like, "My cat died." I was like, "Oh shit, sorry, dude. I'll get you more milk, man." I didn't know. I didn't know. And he's such a nice guy. He's so nice. He's so nice that he didn't care. He just was worried about the cat. And it was like his family cat. Apparently my other roommate on the way home saw him walking like in the dark on his way home from work and he fucking jumped out and scared him. So
Oh
it's like
my
both of his
god.
roommates are just completely fucking with him right after his cat died. It's like, oh no, dude, this is just the relationship we have. We're not supposed to deal with emotions. We're we're, we're 20 something year old white men in North America. We don't know how to deal with emotion.
True that. RM says, "Do you think Dota is different from other games when we talk about aggressivity? Is that even a word? Aggressiveness and toxicity?"
Aggressivity. I think that actually is a word.
I do not think so, considering I just recently started playing Halo again, and I've probably been called the F word and the N word about 50 times more in that game in 12 hours of playing it than I have in the last 6 months of playing Dota. So,
Aggressivity is a word, by the way. It's characterized by
really,
tending toward unprovoked offensives, attacks, and invasions.
today I learned.
Yeah, I've read that somewhere. Maybe it was Marcus Aurelius. I don't know. But aggression is not. It's not. I think it's a little different from aggression,
Well,
but
that's
very
cool.
very very close. Anyway,
But yeah, no.
no, I've
All
played other
gaming,
games too.
all the real reason people are toxic is because there's anonymity, which is a real word also.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
I agree.
if half the people, okay, more than half, if 95% of the people that have been toxic to you in a game were to meet you in real life, let's say you're like playing basketball together or soccer or something like that instead, and you were to mess up, there is almost no chance that they would react in the same way as they do online. Because if they did, then everybody that is there would shun them from society. Or they would potentially be shot or stabbed or beaten up or other things that are worse. You know, like you cannot treat people like shit and get away with it, except on the internet, which is unfortunate and something that we definitely need to solve.
Think about like ninja looting in World of Warcraft. Like how many people just steal loot or like intentionally get you killed because it just because they can, and like not even because they think it's funny, just because like they just want more in the area or something, just like pure greed. I was playing WoW, classic WoW, and I would run by and I would help people like they'd be killing something and I'd help them kill it, and it's like you don't get anything for helping them do that, but it's like because I'm walking by anyway, I just shoot the thing because it takes no time out of my day to do that. And it doesn't cost me any resources. So I would do it. I never saw anybody else do that out of like the hundreds of people that I passed through doing quests. Like nobody ever helped me do anything. And it's like just because they're online, they're anonymous, and they just there's no reason to, you know? It's like they can just be like, "Ah, fuck it, I don't care about that guy." It's in every game to some degree. I was playing Dark Souls and some guy came into my game and tried to kill me. And the way it works is like you invade somebody else's game and the enemies can't hit you. So what he did is he was just hiding in all of the enemies. Did I just smell my armpits, Jenkins? No, but I will now. It smells good. He was hiding in the enemies, and it was like so triggering because like just fight me, man. Just 1v1 me. Why are you hiding in the enemies? Because like he got low, right? And he ran out of potions. So he's like, no, I'm gonna take this win. I'm gonna hide in the enemy. So I just had to keep going. And I just went to the point where like I passed through some zone where he despawned. And it's like, man, you get nothing either way. Why don't you just come fight me? Like, why don't you just fight me legitimately? And it's like that. I get that's not toxicity, right? But it's Dark Souls. There's no leaderboard or something. You don't get anything for killing people. It's just for fun. So why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Because messing with other people is fun for some people.
No, it wasn't that. The guy just didn't want to lose. And man, you toxic motherfucker. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna run into 10 things. And in Dark Souls, the creatures, man, the enemies, they're so strong. Like you can't fight more than one enemy at once most of the time. It's not like some other RPG. Like every enemy can kill you. So he runs in 10 of them. It's like I can't fight him plus all these enemies. So I just have to leave. So cool. It's like no, his stats weren't even ruined because there aren't any stats. It's just for fun. Fuck, man. Gamers are awful sometimes, let me tell you.
They certainly can be. Speaking of which, how do you deal with toxic people in game ruining your game and momentum? Well, in game communication is the key. Well, in game is communication the key to winning the game? So 2 questions. How do you deal with toxic people? We've talked about this a lot. Number 1, just mute them. Number 2, play your own game and use them as sort of like an NPC and play around them. They're being dumb and just farming in terrible places, then maybe use them as bait and gank off of them. If they're being toxic in a way where they're just like ignoring the team and just farming their items, then treat them as if they are the carry and continue to farm. And just play for the late game. And if they are spam pinging you and feeding down mid, then you can either just try and win the game 4v5, or you can sit in the fountain and wait for it to end and move on to the next one.
Let it end,
yeah.
Move on.
Like it's
that's the thing. That's the thing is like you want to try your best to win every, but everybody that's very, very good at Dota has a 52% win rate or something like that.
Right.
That's not inflated by some party queue or cheating or something like that. So yeah, you just have to win as many of them as you can. You just need to win the odd one out. So I think a lot of people need to get better at accepting a loss and not letting that carry forward.
Yep.
And I'm so guilty of that all the time.
Yep. It kind of comes back to what we talked about early on with like if you care about the MMR and you're like holding on to that, you're like death gripping that 25 MMR instead of moving on, then you're going to get really tilted and just like go on a downward spiral.
Which brings me back to another thing that we talked about earlier. Marcus Aurelius, the stoic Jesus himself. You know what he said? He said that in 10 days, and only 10 days, those who see you as a savage and an animal can see you as a savant. If you return to your principles, if you fix yourself. Like this guy was the ruler of one of the greatest empires on the planet. And he realized that you can fuck up and that you need to just return to your principles, return to who you are, and just get better. Like basically he was just saying you're only human. And that is Dota in a nutshell. Is like you will go down some dark downward spirals and dark paths. And the quicker you can get out of those, the more MMR you will gain. That's about it. 2. Who's worse? People who spam GG in all chat and continue to or people who immediately unpause when you have a D. Oh, those are close.
Yeah, I would say probably the people who immediately unpause, although there is like the buffer of not being able to unpause for a while. So like it's kind of built into the game where they can't be as bad. But I don't know. I think the people who spam GG in all chat and continue to defend, those are the ones that trigger me the most because I'm like, you're not even trying to win the game. You're just wasting my time. Like, you don't want to win this game. Your teammates don't want to win this game because you're a piece of shit. And now you're just wasting everybody's time because you're an asshole. Like, that's literally all it is. I tell people anytime, enemy team or my team, if they say GG end, I just tell them, destroy your items and walk down mid or shut the fuck up. And then sometimes they do.
You know what I hate? I hate the people that you just don't know, but you like obliterated them in lane or something. So when they finally kill you like 40 minutes into, they pause on you and just ruin the ebb and flow of the game. And you're just like, wait, what, do I know? The amount of times I've had to ask that in the past weeks, like, do I know you? And it's just, I look at it, I don't know who the hell, they don't know me. I don't know. And they just pause because they thought that my laning was passive aggressive or something. Like, I don't even spam taunt in lanes or something. that triggers me too. People that spam taunts and do the chat wheels. It's like, look, guys, you're not fucking OG, okay? We're playing in a 5K average game. We're not winning millions of dollars. Stop pretending to be OG. It doesn't make you good to have an ego. There's something that an old captain of mine, one of the smartest dudes that I've ever met. He's in some IT firm now, making good money, not playing pro Dota. His name is Sunken. You might have heard of him. But he was a legend back in the day. And he said that you can be good at Dota and an asshole, or you can be a good person and bad at Dota, but don't be both an asshole and shit at Dota. Like that just makes you the worst person. He would always say your like skill to ego ratio needs to be right. You know, like if you're
Sure.
And I find that from a lot of people that are like doing the spam taunting and pausing and doing the chat wheels, the ego is massive. It's so massive, but the skill is not. Like the reason OG does that shit is because they're doing it to win millions of dollars. You know, they're doing it to fuck with their opponents. Oh man,
Dude,
maybe I'm letting it trigger me too much.
But I'm not gonna lie, the pausing stuff is one of the more tilting things in the world, where people like
pause right after you die.
Yeah, or just like for any stupid play, like they make an escape, like they juke you and they pause, or like they kill you and they pause, or they kill somebody else and they pause. It's like, dude, stop, just play the fucking game. You're so like, annoying.
Man, there's gonna be so many deaths in the game. Like I'm not willing to pause for every single one of them.
Exactly.
And the thing is, it ruins the flow of the game too. Like everybody just stops. If there's anybody that was like streaming or wanted to make it a video, there's pause in the middle of things after like a cool play.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, it's just annoying. That's the thing, is it's not like it doesn't make you a bad person or whatever. It just makes you annoying and fuck off with it. Same with like the spam. If you're spam taunting, I was trying to make a video of some like Winter Wyvern offlane and the guy was spamming the taunt. So like all you could hear on the video was like a wyvern's breath, a wyvern's breath, a wyvern's breath. And I was like, dude, you're actually so annoying that I can't make a video using your clip. I can't subject people to hearing that shit for 5 minutes straight because that will bother people. At the 4-minute mark, people will be like, wow, that's annoying. Like, I get it. It's fun, and occasionally taunting and banter is fun, obviously. But for any of these things, and this is just a thing with comedy, you do it enough, and it's like, it's a dead meme, man. It's dead. It's like the Sonic meme, like the way, like I'll show you the way. The OK Boomer thing now, where Ellen is like having people on, having like millennials on, even though they're Gen Z. She's having like millennials on and making fun of them for not knowing how to use like rotary phones. It's like there are times when these jokes just fucking die, and you're not gonna be able to just keep doing it and capture the magic of what it once was, because you're not the original creative guy that came up with the thing. You're just the idiot that's spamming it after it's dead. And that's kind of how I feel about like the spam taunting and pausing and that sort of stuff. I mean, there's obviously a place for it.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
Not
the chat wheels are there specifically so that you can make people feel terrible about themselves when you outplay them. And I think that is the best use of them. Like when Thompson was Zeus and he like got somebody super low.
Thompson won 2 TIs. These 5K pub plebes are beating people 1,000 MMR below them in lane and getting a 2-level advantage, playing like shit, making really terrible rotations that are only successful because they're playing against idiots as well. It's like you're just a monkey throwing shit at another monkey, and then you're like, a wyvern's breath, a wyvern's. No, you're still flinging shit. Thompson is not a monkey flinging shit. He's a fucking savant. All right, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This shit just triggers me.
Well, now you guys know how to beat Jenkins in Dota if you ever queue into him.
I swear to God, if you queue into me and you double chat wheel, I'm gonna try so fucking hard to beat you because I'm gonna be so mad. I legitimately put, like, I sit up in my chair and I just, all right, I'm like trying so hard, you know, because like you just want to show like it does the opposite effect. It does the opposite effect, man.
I'm so glad that I have the tier 3 Bloodseeker chat wheel because it has don't be negative, be positive, and anytime people are flaming, I just Don't be negative, be positive, and people are like, "What the fuck?"
You see, the thing is though, you said okay. There's this situation in which this is a thing, right? Like there's a reason that you do it, that it's relevant. I'm talking about the people that like spam it at the start of a game where nothing has happened, and they're just doing it emulating OG.
Sure.
What you said required brain cells. What they're doing is pure impulse. That is squirting diarrhea into their hands and preparing it to throw it at another chimp. What you just said was a joke. That is good and that is funny. And if somebody is doing it in that context, that's creative. You know, that's funny. I'm making it worse, dude. Whatever, man.
All right.
Whatever.
Should we call it there? We've been going for an hour.
Yes.
All right. See you later. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Good discussion. And if you guys want to ask us questions next week, patreon.com/Dota Alchemy.
Oh my god.
All right. Good luck in your game. See you later. Bye.